All right, let's talk about this a little bit, okay? So basically the discussion at hand is, do we think that... Well, basically what happened is they announced that the MDI will be allowed full add-ons in their LAN tournament, and that's something that normally doesn't happen in PvP. Well, it doesn't happen in PvP. In PvP, you're not allowed any add-ons. You're allowed scripts to like move your UI and stuff like that, but no add-ons, no automatic tracking of anything. And for PvE, they just said, "Fuck, like, forget it. We're doing it. Let's go." Supetys kind of makes a point. He says, playing with add-ons is like bowling with bumpers. The analogies, Supetys, are always so great. But if I don't want to watch PvEers wipe all day without them, supposedly. So I guess like the main argument I could see is like, so these PvEers, they're really good at dungeons. They practiced all year with their add-ons to get as efficient as they are. When you're spectating those dungeons, you want to see these guys play at their absolute best, make the most insane pulls, AoE the most insane packs, do the most DPS. Without add-ons, it could be much different. It could be way slower than people online are, and it just overall isn't a good representation of these players being the best in the environment possible to everybody online. So I guess you kind of have to think about like PvP, and do we want to watch like the best players in the world, like, you know, when you see like Ascendant, or you see Method Black and play RMP, and they're just like stunning on DR and polying on DR and getting fears on DR, and everything's perfectly lined up and done, and it looks amazing and beautiful. All of a sudden they can't pull that off on LAN because they don't have the same tools they do online. And it seems like the same argument to me. Right? So it is interesting to sort of think about that. Because to me, it's like there should be consistency within WoW esports in general, right? It's like, I guess it comes down to, do you think it should be the same for PvP or PvE, or should we keep the tradition in PvP, which is basically you can't use any add-ons? But it's like, it's fully admitted, like we're very open about the fact that having no add-ons, like DR trackers and stuff like that, really hurts specific comps, like Rogue Mage Priest typically doesn't do that well on LAN. You just don't have the same tools to track your DRs, which is ultra important for your win condition. Whereas comps like Lock Shaman, Dampany comps, where your main objective is to survive, do damage, it becomes much easier because you don't have to worry about those DRs and being that precise. You just have to worry about slowing them down. Eventually, you win. Like, stuff like, you know what's funny, like in the PvP community, you kind of make fun of Gladiator Losa. But Gladiator Losa is actually a very useful add-on. Like, it was kind of joked around about for a little while that it was for like noobs or whatever, but Gladiator Losa is, to me, the equivalent of DBM. Just calling stuff out, like, you know, like, imagine anytime you're playing against a rogue and you hear when Shadow Blades is up, or you hear when Icy Veins is up, you know exactly what cooldowns are coming up, when someone used an interrupt, like Rogue Kick. You know, imagine that comes up. You're just listening to the game and you hear Rogue Kick, Death Knight Kick, and then all of a sudden you can free cast because you don't have to worry about it. Same downside in PvP exists in PvE. Who can bring collective? Oh, when it comes into just like who can script the best. Yeah, I guess that's one of the problems too. When you have someone who's really proficient with coding. It's like there's people like Dizzyit and Collective. These guys were very proficient programmers, and they would give their team a major advantage because they could essentially script any add-on. At one point, it's like you can't have any add-ons installed, but you can use scripts. And then you would have people that were literally just making add-ons with macros and stuff. Yo, Adam, thanks so much for the Twitch Prime, man. Appreciate that very much. Gladiator Losa, though, can cause some people to overreact just off listening. Maybe. I feel like in the hands of like a really experienced player who's used to it, it's really, yeah, it's fine. Yo, Fonz Robert, thank you as well for the Twitch Prime, the double subs. Much love to you both, my friends. This is the first, let me put my chat over here. This is the first MDI event. All previous events allowed add-ons, BlizzCon Live Raid. Well, it makes sense, right? It kind of, I mean, I understand why they want to do it. You want to see people, like all these PvEers have practiced all of these dungeons, you know, thousands of hours, thousands of runs with add-ons. Taking it out all the way just like completely changes up the game. It's like it's naked for them. This is very foreign. And the PvE, that's another one. It's a lot about stigma too. Like PvE community has no stigma against add-ons like the PvP one does. That's very true. Some of the first WoW tournaments I went to, there was none. There was no focus frame. WoW used to not have a focus frame, so you would download an add-on called Focus Frame, allowing you to have the focus frame we now know and love, you know, where you can actually track another opponent. That used to not be in the game. So you had people, what's really funny is you had people like Collective technically cheated. He went to a LAN tournament and he scripted, he made a script where anytime his focus cast, because he couldn't actually see it in the game, anytime his focus cast, he heard a ping in his headset. So it didn't look like to the admins, visually you couldn't see anything, but he heard a ping, so he could like focus shear anytime he heard the ping. But aren't they supposed to train without add-ons and MDI just like the PvPers are doing in Arena? I mean, they could. I mean, that's the thing. If you knew it, if they knew about it in advance. At this point for PvP, it's just the status quo. You qualify for a LAN tournament, you shut off all of your add-ons, and you start practicing and preparing without your add-ons. A lot of players have really simplified, a lot of PvP players in general have really simplified their UIs to make that transition a lot easier. You know, they'll have a very base UI, won't make it too crazy because it's easier to adjust, like my UI, for example. It's easier to make this adjustment where then below I have the Omnibar and I have like S Arena. If those are the only add-ons that I'm taking off, like sure there's some adjustments that I have to make, but it's not huge. Like in PvE, you see the command centers, right? You see the PvE command centers. Like Ash, when I watch his stream, I'm like, man, it even hurts me in raiding. Like I'll tell you an example. Like when I raid, people are like, man, what is your UI? Like this is the worst raid UI I've ever seen. Like normally, if I was a Windwalker monk, for example, you track things. You track a Rising Sun Kick very easily, Strike of the Windlord, Fist of Fury, all your offensive cooldowns like Storm with the Fire, Touch of Death, Touch of Karma, and they would just be there. You'd have like 10 buttons you track, and those are the only things you really look at. Your main offensives for your rotation, your main defensives, and then your UI can be way less cluttered, right? But, you know, because I'm a PvPer, I don't want to mess with that stuff. I want to have like that default UI. Even though I don't even compete, I'm still just like, I still like keep it clean, you know? What up, Neil? How's it going, man? But then I watch like Ash, and I watch his stream. He was also amazing at Mythic Plus if you want to check it out. I watch him, and you know, like I said, he has party ability bars. His like everything's beautifully set up. Like just PvEers that put that much time and effort into the UI, they do have a big advantage for sure. And then I guess the question becomes, like, do you want to take away that advantage, or do you want to see these players play at their optimal like peak with all things considered? What's Ash's Twitch name? It's literally right here. Maybe you can look at his here. I'll show you guys his stream. I hope you don't mind. I'm not talking shit. I love you, Ash. You're the best. Your UI is awesome. Like I wish I could raid and do Mythic Pluses with that UI. You know what I mean? I'll show you guys. So this is like his UI. You know? He has like party ability bars. You see his ice block, you see his monk's defensive cooldowns like Bark Skin, all his main offensives in the middle of his screen. You can see when like Sephu's proc is up, like everything just is very nice. It's not too cluttered, has all the information necessary, all his different gear sets and stuff like that for switching. He's chilling hard. He's also a very good streamer. If you guys like Mythic Plus, definitely check him out. I'm just saying the inconsistency is an unfair assessment. Yeah. Well, I guess that's the main thing. I think like us as a PvP community really needs to sit down and think about what you want. What do we want to keep the purity of no add-ons, or do you want to see people play at the absolute min-max crazy potential, the same things that are allowed online, you know what I mean? And that's true. There actually is a single exception. So one of the exceptions to add-ons is because for some reason in the default UI, they minimize how many debuffs you can see, which is really weird. I don't know why they don't just up that, to be completely honest, or give you at least a little bit more customization. Healers in tournaments, you can turn on the extra debuffs, so you can actually see all the dots and all the debuffs that are on someone. Could ever go back to default, full spaceship is the way to go. So yeah, Ash, like, from your PvE perspective, how fucked would you be if you just had to go to the MDI with no add-ons? Like, all MDI teams, no add-ons. Do you think that would, like, absolutely obliterate their performances? I think Fragrance streamed without his UI once and was totally lost. I mean, if that's what you're used to, right? Why wouldn't you be lost? That's why a lot of PvPers keep their UI very simple. I think, I really believe that if we change the rules, if the rules were changed where PvPers could use add-ons, everyone's UIs would be spaceships. Everyone would have a spaceship. Nobody would be able to time anything. Yeah, it's big. The cursed client showed rune timers and they went after them instantly. I kind of like that. See, like, I personally, I mean, I don't really care one way or the other for PvE, but in PvP, like, being able to track your enemies' cooldowns, I think is really weird. Like, oh shit, he has AMS coming up in 5 seconds. Like, we have 5 seconds to pull off the swap, and you make a swap and you kill them in 4 seconds. 1 second before. Like, normally you just be like, fuck, is AMS up? Oh, okay, like, let's wait a second. Okay, we'll make this setup a little cleaner, and then he has it. You know what I mean? Like, just little things like that, I think, take away the skill in PvP. Personally. RMP would just destroy every single thing. Well, RMP doesn't destroy every little thing right now. Like, RMP doesn't destroy everything. Does it? Maybe it does. Maybe RMP would just never lose. What add-ons are on the fence? Like, the add-ons I wouldn't mind seeing in PvP are DR trackers. DR trackers, and that's it. Like, all I would want in PvP are DR trackers, and I want the default. Basically, all I want is S Arena in PvP. Trinket tracker, DR tracker, and a scalable, movable PvP frame. That's literally all I want. And more debuffs. I want you to be able to see more debuffs as a healer. A kick tracker? I don't think there should be a kick tracker, but what I do think is that all kicks in the game need a revamp so they can be easily shown. Every kick in the game should be like Mind Freeze or like Counterspell with a very like loud sound, you know what I mean? Spell Lock, Counterspell, all of them should have a very unique, very visible sound. That's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear because I think it's really, really important. Ooh, I like that. That sounds awesome. That's so rad. I like that. Like Brain Freeze, you can see it so clear. Mind Freeze, you mean? Yeah, Mind Freeze is very, very clear. You can't see pummel, you can't see kick. Yeah, it's a problem for sure. I think for PvP in general, it'd be really, really nice. I think the spectator thing for streams at turning should just show kicks. Like, yeah, but it's not about that. It's not about what we like. The spectator UI is a totally different conversation, and this conversation is about what players see and what allows players to do the best they can. I don't think you would need the interrupt tracker as much. Like, a big part of the interrupt tracker, sure, is to like track exactly when the interrupts are up, but it's also just to like see kicks, spear hand strike, stuff like that. You know what I mean? When you fake Mind Freeze, you know you fake Mind Freeze. When you fake Counterspell, you know you fake Counterspell. Yeah, it's kind of true. Like, kick definitely has an animation. Like, here, I'll show you guys. When you use your interrupt, you definitely have an animation, but the problem is, like, when you're weaving in other globals and other spells, because it is off global, sometimes the animation is really hard to see, especially if there's a lot of pets and stuff on the map. Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation, to say the least. Like, I don't necessarily, like, I'm not set in stone that the way we do things right now in PvP is the best way to do it. I'm very like, I'm very open-minded either way. So like when you spearhand strike, it shows an animation, but like if you jab and spearhand strike, you can't. It's like it's very hard to tell. You know what I mean? What's the argument against allowing all the add-ons that allow online when qualifying? It's like a... Well, it's just... I think what it comes down to is just like a tradition. And like that's what it feels like. In PvP, it's a lot about tradition and what we deemed as like what takes the most skill, and that was playing without add-ons. I'm not trying to sound rude with this statement, but if the MDI players got so comfortable with add-ons, which are training wheels, when they move to a competitive stage, do we want to watch everyone on training wheels? That's kind of funny, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like at this point it's just like it's the stat. I think it comes down to a lot about mindset too. Like in PvE, Strom made a good point where it's like it's just a stigma in PvP against add-ons, right? Oh yeah, you won't be able to do it on LAN without your command center, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? There's that stigma in PvP. In PvE, it's like everyone uses full add-ons all the time when you raid, when you do dungeons. Like add-ons in PvE are part of the game, straight up. The top, yeah, exactly. The top PvPers kind of set the tone in the community way long ago. Because I do think there is like a line that needs to be drawn a little bit. I don't think being able to track every little thing the enemy team does, like Gladiator, Losa, like I think that there is a lot of skill in being able to track those things in your head. Like, oh my god, like he used AP like a minute ago or something like that. You can't just be the perfect script lined up. Like in raids, you literally, like, when even me now, when I do mythic raiding, when someone like Super Tease wouldn't fucking download Deadly Boss Mod, I was so annoyed. We're doing Vermithras, and when someone gets the debuffs, it pops a little say above their head, and like fucking Super Tease wouldn't download it, or someone wouldn't download it, and I'm like annoyed at him. I'm like, dude, just get the add-on. It makes it so much easier for us. We're wiping because you don't have the add-on. Like, what's wrong with you, bro? But in PvP, I have a lot different mindset. I know. There was a lot of PvPers that were like, I don't want to download add-ons. Add-ons? What? I don't want to... Like, the game sucks when you have to listen to Deadly Boss Mod. But then, when you think about it and you're like, well, we're competing against people, like, other guilds are using add-ons. Like, is it really... Other guilds are using full add-ons and taking 500 pulls, and it's hard for them. Like, why are we going to make it take us 1,000 pulls or something like that? You know what I mean? Like... Yeah, good players can definitely track it, but they're not gonna be able to track it as well. Okay, there's gonna be like Naj, or not Naj, any rogue in the game isn't gonna be able to get those perfect cheap shots the millisecond someone comes off DR. You know what I mean? Your healer's 10% HP. What do? DRs are up in 1 second. Do you just go for the cheap shot right away? Or do you wait, you know, in like those high pressure situations where you don't know exactly when those DRs are up? Like, you have to use your dance and you have to cheap shot both DPS or your healer's gonna die. Knowing the exact millisecond he comes off DRs can be the difference between winning and losing a tournament. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just like, yeah, that's true. The thing is, like, all the best PvEers use the add-ons, and that's fine. But it's like, there's a precedent in WoW that if you're a good player, like if you're a top player, when you get to LAN, you're not using add-on. So a lot of players don't practice with add-ons, you know? They're like, when they're practicing the entire year, it's with limited add-ons. I don't think it's training wheels. I think there's so many volatile interactions in Mythic Plus that add-ons are mandatory. Yeah. Like, here's the thing, man. When you, like, if you're competing, when it's no holds bar and like everybody has the option to use all add-ons and stuff like that, that's kind of what I was saying, where I even wanted everyone to get like, I even wanted everybody to get DBM for raiding, because it just makes it easier and everyone else is using it. Where everyone, like, if you're in a competitive environment and every single person is using DBM and blah 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 blah, then it's fine, right? It's like what I said initially too. When you're watching, like, and I said this at the very beginning. When you're watching, do you want to watch these players wipe when they normally wouldn't online. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to see them die to like a boss mechanic that they like never died to before just because the information wasn't there for them? Maybe they need to and then there's the argument maybe they need to practice without add-ons. Maybe the standard should be you don't use any add-ons. But I don't know. I don't know either way. I'm on the fence. You know, I think it's fine.